is the ImageList Control? Its purpose. The control is a container that holds multiple images. Images can be retrieved by index and displayed in a PictureBox control. The commonly used properties are: there's a name. It's a unique ID to refer to a specific control and code. The images. It's a collection of images stored and referenced by index. Image size. It's the width and height of an image in pixels. That width cannot exceed 256 pixels, and the height cannot exceed 256 pixels. The default event, there is none. It's just a container. Let's take a look and see how all this works. The image list control is found in the components section. Let's open the components, and you can find it right here. Clicking on it places it in this control area on the bottom where you saw the dialog, save dialog, and open dialog, and other things like that. It's a control that is not displayed on the screen, but it is used by the form. The common properties are sitting in the name right here. I'm going to name this thing IML, using Hungarian notation, IML for image list, and I'll call it deal. We'll set up a deck of cards. I'll set up the image size. Actually, in order to get the image size, you need to find out what you're actually going to be looking at. In this graphics section of my folder, I have a number of cards. I have large poker cards, which pop up like this, and I've got a series of small poker cards that look like this. And you can see them. I'm going to use the small ones and apply them to the image list control. In order to do that, I need to go to the images section of my properties. And in the collection section, I see a double ellipse here. I'll click on this, and I'll say I want to add some cards. I can jump in then to my graphics section where I've got these things. I'll put the small cards in there. I'll double click on them, and I'll claim them all. And as you can see, they populate the collection. And they number them with an index, starting with 0. Two of clubs is sitting out here, all the way down to the Queen of Spades, 55. 55. A normal deck has 52. So there's a few cards in here I don't want to have in place in order to create a poker hand that I'd like to set up and have come across. So I'll simply go in here, and you can delete things that are in here. And what I'll delete is the joker. There's a joker right here. Simply delete it, removing it, and this joker right here. At least with 53, there's still something else in there. I should have 51. 0 through 51 is 52 cards. And if you look back, I got a black face and a blue and a black face red. I don't want those in my deck either, so I'm going to remove those and get rid of that kind of stuff. I may use them later for something else, but this is going to give you my deck of cards. So right now, I've got my deck of cards sitting there, and I'll close this thing off. Now, the image side on these cards, I need to set up. Right now, it's sitting at 1616. I'll make a decision on that when I decide how I'm going to actually display these things. I happen to know that these cards are sitting at 183 and 256, so I'm going to actually go ahead and do that and change this width to 183 and 256. How do I know that? I used a program called Snagit to actually grab the cards and take a look at them. So once I've got the size in place, I now know what they are. Now what I want to do is I want to display those things in a PictureBox control. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to close up the component section and go to my common controls and find a PictureBox and lay it on my form. And there it is. And this is the guy I want to set up as well as, first I'm going to call it PBX for PictureBox, PBX card 1. Then I'm going to go down to the size area and change this to the same thing I have my image list control set up as. And that happens to be, I've got this set up as 106 and 157. That looks just fine. We'll leave it like this. I'm going to actually put a card backing on this thing, so I'm going to go to my image, which is right here, and go ahead and pull one up. I'm going to go ahead to my local resources, import something from that card deck I had here. Remember, I was looking at the poker small cards, and we just drill down a little bit. We can find we've got a back face here. I'll open that up and apply this. And now I need to change the size of this thing, so I'm going to actually stretch the image. So go to my properties, and I'll stretch the image. And there it is, looking just fine. Looks good right now. File, save all. And it's set to go. Run it real quickly. And we've got our form in place. You can see the card sitting here. It doesn't do anything, just a card. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up a button on the bottom of this thing, which I'll place right over here. And we'll call this button, we'll call this thing just deal. We'll call it button deal, BTN deal. And we'll adjust the font so that it's bold and 12. We'll then stretch this guy out and let it cover the whole bottom of the section right down here. Looks pretty decent. We'll adjust the size a little bit later, but we've got ourselves a button sitting in place here. I'm going to go out to this button right now, double click on it, and I'm going to write some code for it. One line of code. I'm going to say PBX card 1 dot image is equal to IML deal, which is our image list, dot images, and I'm going to let it stay at 0 there. And we're basically going to be looking at the first card in the array, which is, I think, the 2 of clubs. And that's all we're going to do. We're not going to do anything special with it at this point in time. Do a save all and do a run. My program comes up and I can now hit the deal button, and up comes the 2 of clubs. So this is working just fine. Nothing special there, just does that. Now we're going to set this thing up so that we're going to be dealing a deck of cards. So I want to make a copy of this, and I'm going to paste 4 of these actually, on the deck. Something like this. And we'll kind of format them. Align their tops. Format horizontal spacing we'll make equal. And then we'll basically center them on the form horizontally. And there we go. Now we can simply adjust this button so it works with that card, and this one works with this card. We'll now name all these guys. We'll name this one. Remember, we named this one PBX card 1. So this will be PBX card 2. And PBX card 3. And PBX card 4. And PBX card 5. It gives us all 5 cards. Now we're going to go back into this button, and we're going to make a few changes. For one thing, we're going to have this button set up a random number. So we're going to go down here. We're going to say, first of all, I'm going to set up an integer called x up in the private area up here. Well, I want to use that, and I want the image list to be able to see it. So I'm going to say int x, and that'll also be a pointer to one of the images on in our image list. Then I go down here and I'm going to say random, rand, give it a name like that, equals new random. That's going to set up our random number generator. Then I'm going to say for int I equals 0, I is less than 5, and we'll set up our loop. We'll make us less than 5. So we're only going to deal 5 cards. And I want this to come down. And I'm going to take this this loop here, and I'm going to say x is equal to rand.next 52. So it's going to generate a random number between 0 and 51. This will allow us to point to any of the cards in the image list. And then I'm going to call a method called deal card. I'm going to pass it I, which is that image. So I'm going to deal the cards. I'm going to pass it each time I'm going to do it. I'm going to jump down and do this kind of thing. So what we have here now is we have a method we're going to be using that's going to do the dealing of the cards. I haven't created that method yet, and I'll do that right here. We're going to get rid of this. We're going to use it later. So I'm going to leave it here for now. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to say private void deal card, and I'm going to pass it an int. We'll use I again instead of the braces, and we now have a method, and so the error goes away. What I want to do with this thing, I want to create a switch, SWITCHI, and then set up my braces. So we're going to have a switch in here. And our case 0 is going to pop up first. So we're going to use case 0, and we're going to say this, and then break. So PBX card 1 image is going to be equal to image deal, but I want to put an X in here because at any given time, X is a certain value. X is going to equal out random numbers. This will identify the card we're going to be using. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create several more of these, starting with the case, and I'll just use a paste. 1, 2, 3. Create those things. We're going to create a case 1, a case 2, a case 3. Oops, should be a 2 here. And 0, 1, 2, and I also want a default on here. And the default will be this as well. Now it's in place. So basically we got a case 0, 1, 2, 3, and break. So basically the 5 cards are going to be sitting there. I'm going to be passing it, but I'm going to say that this is going to be card 1, this is going to be card 2 over here. This will be card 3, this is card 4, and our default is going to be card 5, the last one we find. And that's the extent of it. So what I've done here is I've set up a loop to generate 5 numbers. It's going to go through the image list, which is basically an array of pictures. It's going to find these randomly, and it's going to place them in our picture box. We can blow this away, tighten this thing up a little bit, and we should do a file save. Save all. Look at our form. Looks pretty good to go. Let's try this out and see what happens. Here's our form. Comes up with the 5 cards in there. We hit deal, and Ace of Diamonds, 6, 5, 4, 4. Notice we do get doubles in here because we haven't done any code to stop it from generating a double in the image list. So what we want to do in that case is when we pick a number, we want to keep track of the X's it finds, and if it finds a duplicate, make it do it over again. Basically, we have a little accumulator of 5 different X's, and the integers should all be different. If one comes up the same, that's actually in there, then you want to be able to bypass it and not have your duplicate go. But in most cases, I don't think you're going to get that duplicate. I think it's going to come up pretty straightforward. We'll do another deal. No duplicates there. No duplicates there. None there. If you do enough of them, you'll get them again. No duplicates. No duplicates. So you actually get lulled into a false sense of security that you're not going to get any duplicates, but you will. So you do have to put that check in there so you don't happen to have it happen. But it's not all that often, as you can see. Looks like we're in pretty good shape here. No duplicates there. So that nice hand. That in a nutshell is how you handle the image list. And it can be used for a number of things that we'll see later. That's it in a nutshell.